Inspire, motivate, challenge.
So I'd like to talk about the panel now.
Right from panel 1, which was about 13 years ago, I've attended every single panel event. And I can tell you, no event comes close to panel when it comes to pharmacy education. It's a gathering of retail pharmacy owners.
You talked about Farm Alliance and how that started and how you've grown. So how did that evolve into the panel?
Okay, so you actually put in the cart before the horse.
Oh, okay.
Panel gave birth to Farm Alliance.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Okay.
Farm Alliance is 8 years old.
Okay.
Panel next year will be 14 years old.
Ah, interesting.
So it tells you that while I was in Pfizer, I was running panel.
Oh.
Yes. But there was this clause around it. Because of conflict of interest, I couldn't run, the panel could not grow, right? And so I can't be building panel on Pfizer time, one.
Okay.
And I also couldn't be approaching Pfizer competitors to sponsor panel. And to cap it, one of my advisors then, Pharmacist Remi ADESEUN, when I was approaching him he called my attention to it and said, look, he cannot be a part of anything like this because of the potential conflict it has. And we looked at it together and we agreed that there will be no conflict, meaning that I will not do this work on Pfizer time. Number two, I would also structure it in a way that does not put any of the participants in the line of risk. And so that's why throughout the time I was in Pfizer, I only ran panel during my leave.
Interesting.
And so you can imagine working the whole year, and the only time you have to catch your breath, you are using it to organize a conference. You understand? So it was, so panel started 2009. I left Pfizer in 2010. So the first four years of my life at that time was back-to-back hustle. You know, it was when I now left that I was able to express myself the way I really wanted to express myself. So, yes, so panel started 2009. I came back to Lagos 2008 after less than 3 years on the field as a rep to become the manager, the customer relations manager. And I had learnt at the feet of Clare in Ibadan. I had learnt at the feet of Fumak, Gudo. And I saw that there were some behavioral differences between people who were succeeding in retail and every other person that was struggling. And the bulk of people are struggling. And I said, okay, fine. I said, there's a big knowledge gap. Let's use this platform. Let me create a platform to bridge that knowledge gap. One of the first engagements I did in Lagos when I came in, I think around August 2008. I got an invite from, it sounds very funny, from Alps to Pharmacist to come and anchor their December annual program. Imagine a guy being the anchor, lead this program and all that. But I came, and the keynote speaker for that day was Bukky George. Okay. That was the first time I was meeting her, and we resonated. I mean, it was an immediate resonance that clicked and all that. And we kept in touch after that and all that. So when the panel vision came, I shared with her, and I said, okay, fine, no problem. I can speak on the platform, okay? So there was Bukky George, then there was Charles Omoriga. Charles was a pharmacist who was then in marketing communications, and at the time he had approached Pfizer for branding work and all that. So I said, okay, fine. If the pharmacist who is into branding, maybe he can come and teach community pharmacists about branding. So he came on board. There were 4 of them. I know there was RDJ. I'm trying to remember who the 4th person was. There were 4 speakers at the first edition of the panel. I remember the 4th one. But RDJ at the time was like the master stroke. How did I get RDJ? It was through Professor Lere Baale. So Lere Baale has been an all-time mentor to me and all that, So I remember meeting him at the time, there's First Foundation was just beside the Pfizer office at the Bola House in Okwebi. Okay. So I had to meet with him. I think he had just finished a workshop or something. So we're discussing in the evening. And there was this, he has this friend who is of late now, God rest his soul, Richmond Dayo Johnson. And so I spoke to him about training, about consulting, about public speaking and all those things, how do I hone my skills and all that. So he just placed the call to, that was in 2008, around the time I had done that ALPS program. It was the December time. So he said, oh, there's this guy, RDJ, this, but he doesn't know whether he's in the country and all that, that he's based in the UK. So he just picked his phone and called him. By divine providence, RDJ was just down the road. You know, so he said, oh, where are you? Okay. So the guy connected with us at the First Foundation building, you know, and, you know, I was like, okay, so how are you? This, you know, we got talking and he said, so you want to do public speaking? I said, oh, yes, sir. You know, training and all that. He said, no, not that I want to do. He said, I said I'm a speaker.
Yeah, because I was, sorry, before you carry on, what you said, because I always remember that you've been kind of been doing.
Yeah, okay, yeah. So,
plans,
yeah, so I can't remember what the discussion was, but I positioned myself as a speaker who wanted to, you know, take my speaking to the next level. Professional. Yeah, you know, so how much have you made in the last 1 month? Luckily, I had revenue from ALPS then. You know, that envelope they will give you. I say, thanks for coming. So I proudly said, oh, yes, I made, let me not say how much I was paid. He said, He said, I just made, I can't remember, some millions, from speaking. My mouth, it took a while for the thing to close. He said, young man, this is serious business. I said, okay, sir. You know, so from there we built a relationship, and then he was one of the speakers at the panel, the first edition of the panel. So for panel, for me to get, so the first thing he did there was to introduce me to Toastmasters. Okay. That's a public speaking and leadership platform. So I joined Toastmasters and all that. So it was while under his tutelage in Toastmasters, and I bridged the idea to him. And he said, okay, and I credit him for how far the panel has come over time, because he made me make 2 commitments I didn't understand I was making at the time. He said, number 1, this program will not be a made in Nigeria event. You know, this is our crooked way of doing things. Let them not say we didn't do anything. You know, that has to be a standard world-class event. That's 1. Okay. And then number 2, it must not end at panel 1. It must be an annual event and all that. That he's not into all these hogwash programs. And I said, no problem, sir. Okay, you know. And then we kicked off. And so we planned for 100 people, you know, to come for the program. We used the First Foundation. There was no money to host the event. I tell people and they laugh. I said the money we only secured the hall. It was as people were coming and paying that we paid for the hall. You know, no, we really started from very humble beginnings. You know, so we planned for 100 people. The venue could seat 100 people, stationery 100 people, food for 100 people. Everything was, you know, standard, no stories. 21 people showed up for the program, you know, and then a 1-day program and all that. But luckily enough, we were able to pick all our bills, you know, and then we pulled that through. Then the second year came, we felt, okay, last stage, just for them to know us. The second year, we came back again. RDG was back, Mrs. George was back, Mr. Chris Ehimen from Net Pharmacy, then he used to be in Bank PHB, came to speak about financing. Then GM of Worldwide, Shalindra Sharma, was my very good friend at the time, came to speak around strategy. Salient too came to speak, you know, another blockbuster panel. 24 people showed up. You know, at that point, discouragement was beginning to set in. But I remember...
Sorry, just to reiterate, you were doing all this while you were with Pfizer?
Yes, during my leave.
I understand.
So you can imagine having 2 weeks to set up a whole conference and all that. It was crazy.
Sorry, before you carry on, yes, we've gotten into year 2 of panel now.
Yeah.
But what was the perception like at work?
What is the perception? Do you mean?
Like your colleagues, your bosses.
Nobody knew what's happening. Nobody knew what was happening.
Nobody knew. But you were dealing with similar customers and
retail pharmacists now.
And stuff.
Nobody knew. No.
What did he get back to Pfizer that Chino was planning a conference?
Was it big? 20 people. A 20-man conference.
Okay, so basically you were doing it, you know.
It wasn't hush hush. It wasn't hush hush. Yeah, I mean we're making the word, but I wasn't. There was no flyer that had my face on it or whatever.
Okay.
And guess what? By the time the first one we even started, there was no company.
Oh.
There was no company to pay into. So I used my dad's company to collect payments.
Yeah, what did you call it?
Shine and Glow. No. There was nothing. It was just me, my usual erratic man. Why is this not? Okay, let's do something.
Okay.
And I remember vividly somebody trying to pay. And of course, it's a new thing. Everybody was skeptical at the time. And I got a call, say, yeah, I'm about to pay, but they say this company is an engineering. I say, it's us. Put the money there, we'll get it. Everything was done, on a shoestring, And then gradually, and like I said, because we weren't going to companies and all that, all the communication was among community pharmacists and all that, So we pulled off the second one. Now, after the second one, I think someone saw that, okay, it looks like these guys are up to something, and then tried to replicate. So when we were going to plan for the third year, the person used the same venue. The person used my speakers, But I don't have any issues. I'm someone who believes a lot in competition.
So what was that person's program called?
Same retail, it's not panel, but another retail pharmacy program.
Okay.
But because I believe there's always something to learn from competition. I never deride my competition, So the person had done the thing, came, and then probably thinking, it's a money spinner.
Okay.
Used the same venue, same speakers, but I learned something critical from that person. The person came to Pfizer for sponsorship, to sponsor the program. And sponsorship was on my desk.
Yeah.
It was very easy for me to kill it at this point, But we sponsored, Pfizer sponsored and all that, because I tell people I never claim to have monopoly of wisdom. I always want to see other people do things a different way. I may have something to learn. So we get sponsored. Of course, I didn't go, but I was monitoring the events and all that. And that was where I got the concept of companies sponsoring delegates, which is one of the biggest driver of participants into panel today. Okay. Biopharm being over how many years? Biopharm is sponsoring 20, 30, 40, 50 pharmacists to the panel, And then we have a lot of companies now sponsoring. So even when we plan, we know that we will get people to this amount, in the room and all that, So we learned that from competition. And so when that happened, I was supposed to be worried, but I was excited. I said, yeah, that means we're up to something, They say, is it copying is the best form of admiration or something? So somebody is. So I said, you know what? We're going to change the game. Remember, panel 2, we had about 20-something people. And then, of course, for the room to look full, now maybe my staff will sit down somewhere, other people carrying ahead. So, but what people that paid, 20-something people. And so we then changed venue. I said, no, we can't continue. If this person has used my venue, then I need to go for something else. And then that was when we found Necker House at the time, panel 3. Big, as small as it is to me now, big hall. I said, how will we feel this hall, But, there are times where when your faith rises, everything rises with it. And then we took the hall, and panel just, took off from there, At the time, Professor Lere Baale then was the keynote speaker for that third edition of the panel. We had Mr. Jimmy Agbaje come over. I mean, it was big from there. And then things started moving up and up and up from there. So we did panel 3, panel 4. After panel 4, I think that was when I left. No, panel 4, panel 2009, 10, 11, 12. So panel 5 was when panel 5 was my first panel after leaving Pfizer.
Okay.
You know, and so then Clare was the keynote speaker. Of course, she blew the roof and took the roof away with her when she was going, you know, and then things just started moving on and on. After panel 6, we felt that it was time to move on again, and then we hosted panel 7 in Sheraton, and that was the first time we did a 2-day conference.
Okay.
Because it was now so choked. It was like a marathon, as in there was no time for socializing. From morning to come to the end, they were back-to-back, you know, lectures. And so when that was over, we now moved to Sheraton panel 7. We only did 1 year in Sheraton. Sheraton couldn't contain us anymore. And then we moved to, from panel 8, we moved to Classic. And the thing just took a life of its own. For panel 7 was Biorhythm. Biorhythm is now the managing director of Greenwich Merchant Bank. You know, he also came, blew everybody up to smithereens, and so panel then began to develop a reputation as that place enlightened community pharmacists go to, you know, for wisdom impartition and all that, you know. So by panel, so we then continued 2 days, and then we now moved from being a regular pharmacy conference to one that hosts celebrity keynote speakers. So from panel 8, we're having Fola Adeola, founder of GT Bank, Cosmas Maduka, you know, Leo Staneke, Akin Bello Osage, you know. So all of a sudden we changed the game such that people now begin to look out for, what are they bringing this year? You know, those big boys coming and all that, you know. But we then later found out that even before we announced the keynote guys, the hall is full. Because people were now reckoning with the contents we were driving. And then 2019, no, when the COVID launched, 2020, okay. So COVID launched 2020. And it was one of the toughest panels for us to host. Because the biggest problem was the uncertainty. Nobody knew if it was COVID here, but you know, that was when they were panels around the time we day on lock, you know, that kind of a thing, you know, where people come out and all that. So around May, we just made up our mind, we're doing a virtual conference. And then started investing in the technology and all those things. And we didn't want to do Zoom. Because people used to free Zoom. I can now do Zoom and tell people to come pay for your Zoom conference, you know. So we now have to build a website and all that. Came up with crazy stuff. And we found out about a month to the program that we had maxed out all our time slots. And people were asking for more. So we had to make it. So panel 12, which was last year, was when we now moved to a 3-day conference because of demand from sponsoring companies. And that was our best attended conference. We crossed the 600-man mark, as in it was huge. Even though technology showed us, you know, but then it was huge, you know. And so this year, which is panel 13, we then continued the 3-day format. And once again, 3 days was fully maxed out, as in back-to-back content and all that. And people are already asking me, panel 14, what's up? And I can assure everybody who is watching, panel 14, by God's grace, there'll be no, let me not say anything now that, where everything I seem to see comes to pass. Because last year we said, ride out the storm. When the storm came, we knew that something was going, because the internet was very stormy. So I said, no, we are going to respect ourselves. Then this year, we now said, okay, we're going to do it afraid. When the challenges came, you know, we eventually surmounted. So after them next year, we are going to change. The theme will be something, you know, like, oh, from glory to glory, or from height to height. So that there's nothing that will tempt anybody to come and disrupt us there, you know. So, but it's been a jolly 14-year journey.